It's no surprise, but I'm going to tell you today why the Cincinnati Bengals should be ashamed of themselves and they're an embarrassment to the National Football League. We'll talk about it here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yeah, buddy, it is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL Barbershop, the afternoon version of Locked On NFL. Of course, we are twice a day. And he is my man, David Harrison from Locked On Commanders, always here with me on a Wednesday to give you some of the biggest stories from around the National Football League. And we got some doozies to talk about today, man. I'm telling you. First and foremost, I'd like to let you know that wherever you get your podcast, make sure you check into that location each and every day so you do not miss an episode like the one you're going to hear today that is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm going to give you a little bit of a roadmap. We're going to end up in Davis' neck of the woods up in Washington, talking about how Washington is missing the mark a little bit with one of their really, really good guys and good players. Retirement talk in New Orleans between Tyrann Mathieu and, of course, the Los Angeles Chargers, Mike Williams, both leaving. Is Mathieu a Hall of Famer? That's a little question we'll get into. In the middle of the show, Jerry Jones can't get out of his own way. What's new? But at the very top, we won't bury the lead. We'll talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. They have two situations, so we're going to dedicate this entire segment to them. They have two situations that are alarming. The Trey Hendrickson situation and the Shemar Stewart situation, both of their edge rushers. One is a rookie and the other one is a veteran. Let's hear from David first. David, we've been talking about the Bengals forever, and you've been going in on them a little bit. And just give me what's wrong with them?
Yeah, so listen. So I'm going to backtrack on one thing, just because it's not really backtracking; it's learning more information. Right? When we have more information, opinions can change, and that's not backtracking. That's having more information. We make our opinions based on what we know. When what we know is different, the opinions oftentimes differ. When it comes to Shemar Stewart, first-round draft pick, edge rusher, Texas A&M, I'm now siding with the Bengals. I'm with the Bengals on this one. Listen, you still overpay T. Higgins, and you're still, I don't know what you're doing with Trey Hendrickson, but when it comes to Shemar Stewart, I'm okay with it because here's what his agent recently came out and said, and he said this publicly, thinking, I don't know what, that people are just going to up and down, yes, like, well, I agree with you. According to what this agent is saying, the hang-up is on the guaranteed money Shemar Stewart would get were he to violate the NFL's conduct policy, were he to be involved in things that are detrimental to the team or the league from a behavior standpoint. Basically, what he wants is if I go to jail or if I get suspended because I'm a dummy, I still want you to pay me. No. Are you crazy?
Yeah,
no.
Nobody does that.
You don't get to do that.
So it's not the Bengals. The misunderstanding, because I jumped all over them too.
Yeah.
It's not the Bengals wanting to put some sort of conduct clause in that other players don't have. It's a very
standard conduct clause. Yeah.
It's him not wanting the conduct clause put in.
Yeah. And that's a red flag to me. That's a red flag to me. Why do you and why are you this adamant about getting that protection?
Yeah.
Like, what are you into? Who are you hanging out with? Like, what is going on in your family and your friends and your circle or in yourself where you feel like you need to have this kind of protection? That, to me, is a red flag. And I'll tell you right now, you sit out this entire NFL season because of that clause. I'll tell you right now, Wig, if I'm an NFL GM and we're in 2026 NFL draft and Shemar Stewart has just now not played football for a whole year, right? Real football for a whole year. And the reason he didn't play football, the reason he didn't make the jump to the National Football League, and he forgoes millions of dollars, is because he wants to be protected financially in case he goes to jail, gets suspended, does some crazy crap. No, like you're off my draft board. Like you're off.
So here's what I want to know.
That's crazy.
They knew who his agent was before they picked his kid.
Mm-hmm.
Did they vet him? And doesn't the conduct policy from the league, if you go to jail or you get in trouble, can't the commissioner say that you do that without pay?
I mean, I would assume that's not even a.
I would think that just kind of voids some of your guarantees, doesn't it?
I think that's the point. I think that's like what everybody in the league is probably sitting around saying, like, this is crazy. Like, why would the Bengals do this? Why would they even entertain this idea?
I wonder who his agent is, and if his agent has other clients and he's asking other people to do that for his other clients.
It's nuts.
Yeah, that's a bizarre situation. I tell you what, we'll investigate it a little bit more. And that just came out, and David said he got a bomb for me early in the show. I'm gonna tell you though what makes me want to side with anybody that's got a beef with the Bengals, and it's what they're doing to a proven player like Trey Hendrickson, who's never gotten in trouble. So now the benefit of the doubt goes out of the window. I want you to listen to the guys from Locked On Bengals talk about it.
It feels like there's a little Trey Hendrickson smoke. And by the way, there should be. You should want him to get into camp and be in camp. And whether or not it's done by Wednesday, I'm okay with it going a few days or a week, but you don't want it to really impact things and impact the season and impact week one and impact Trey's mindset or impact the defense. And it felt like that there is, even if it hasn't felt like it all off season, the Bengals clearly want this done.
Yeah. So they said until Trey Hendrickson is tweeting from Jacksonville, Florida on Instagram or wherever he's at saying, yeah, I'm here. I ain't there because I don't want to be a distraction to my teammates. It's hard not to compound issues and situations when it's the Bengals, who have been known to do boneheaded stuff like this with a proven player, with a great player. That's why we are so quick to believe and jump to the defense of Shemar Stewart. I mean, something has to give here. And maybe this agent is playing hardball with the Bengals because the Bengals tried to play hardball with him and they see what he's doing to Trey Hendrickson. Either way, man, this whole thing stinks, and it's just mismanagement. And whether or not both of these things are their fault or not, David, they're still culpable because this is the kind of stuff they find themselves doing all the time.
Yeah. And you know, it's hard to get into the full weeds of it because, like, I don't have the contract for Shemar Stewart in front of me, right? But, like, apparently the reason they're upset about it is this specific behavior clause they have that they didn't do for other players. So he's the first, but it's something that the rest of the NFL teams do on a very regular basis. Basically, now the Bengals are catching up. But again, like I said, if you're not going to get in trouble, who cares, right? Like, I'm never going to fly a German flag outside my house, Wig. Not that I hate Germany. I'm just not going to do it. So if David Locke calls me up tomorrow and says, hey, I'm going to add a thing in your contract. If you ever fly a German flag outside your house, you don't get paid. I'll sign that thing because guess what? It's never going to happen anyway. Like, I'm not worried.
It's never going to happen anyway.
Not worried about it.
Never going to happen.
Anyway,
now.
Trey Hendrickson, look, man, I mean, this is a situation where honestly, it's a situation where I think I firmly believe right now that Trey Hendrickson is trying to get the Bengals to bid against themselves because, again, remember, they gave him permission to seek out a trade. Mm-hmm. And if they had a trade partner that was willing to pay him what Trey reportedly wants to be paid, then that team is probably also willing to at least send some draft capital. And Cincinnati Bengals at this point most likely are just going to kind of cut their losses, take the draft capital they can get, let Trey go make his money somewhere else. But if he can't get his money anywhere else either, let me just stay in Cincinnati. Let me just deal, because this is the only team he has any leverage on. Like, you know, if say the Washington Commanders were like, hey, Trey, let's talk about it. Listen, I just say it because I know
I'm messing with you. Go ahead.
Let's say the Washington Commanders call up Trey during that window and say, hey, man, like, you know, you're open for a trade. What are the terms that you're looking for? Oh, no, we can't pay that. Like, Trey has no ability. Like, he can't come out in the public and say, well, the Washington Commanders called me, but they won't pay me either. So F them. Like, that doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? So the Bengals is the only team he can apply any pressure to. But if the Bengals in this situation, I'm telling you, I'm starting to turn a little bit. Like, if the Bengals are looking at Trey Hendrickson saying, look, dude, we love you. We like you. We want you on the team. You're under contract. We're going to keep you. Here's what we're willing to give you in an extension. We're not going to give you more because it's just not what the market value and the production arc for your future says you're worth. And, oh, by the way, you went out there in the open market and sought out trade partners and nobody else was willing to do it either. So obviously, like if 32 out of 32 dentists tell you you're using the wrong toothpaste, you should probably change your toothpaste. It's starting to sound a lot like that's what's happening with the Trey Hendrickson situation. And then, on top of it, I just had a very interesting conversation with an NFL executive not that long ago. And it was a different topic, but the literal comment that he said was, he said, I've never seen a successful business negotiation handled in the court of public opinion.
You're right.
So if you're taking your negotiations public, it's probably not going well for you. And honestly, it's probably not going to go any better for you.
All right, we'll finish talking about this and maybe even some destinations for him at the top of segment 2. We'll do it in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning big purchases, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Man, having everything in one app is easy for me because I ain't that tech savvy. So I need that one push button effort that Monarch Money gives me. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Rougiet Ready. That's right. Guys, if you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis, maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiet Ready. Rougiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average about 15 minutes, and the effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and ready when you need to be. All right, if traditional options haven't worked, Rougiet might be the answer. Head to Rougiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiet website for full safety information. Moving along here, we're talking Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals earlier. So we're starting to get more information, and we're starting to say, hey, man, maybe the Bengals, they do make a little bit of a point, and they do make a little bit of a valid point about these issues. Hendrickson is 30 years old and seemingly is the dude that people are sitting there saying, I don't know if you want to pay guys that old this much money. Well, TJ Watt got his money, right? So now another pass rusher wants his. And that's not the only one. There's one in Dallas. And the one in Dallas is pretty damn good. On our top 100, he was voted the second best defensive player in the National Football League on the Locked On NFL Top 100. And that is Micah Parsons. I think he's worth it. I think he's the best player Dallas has had on their roster in a long, long time. And the guys at Locked On Cowboys seem to think, you know what? We're sick of this foolishness with Jerry Jones. Check this out.
Honestly, I dread watching these because I just want the Cowboys to have a normal press conference where they operate like a somewhat serious organization. And sometimes they do, but more often than not, we come out of these like, we're going to be talking about what Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones said about Trayvon Diggs and what they meant about Micah Parsons missing 6 games when he really only missed 4. It's just a bunch of nonsense. It's very draining.
I think that Jerry has made a grave miscalculation in some of this, because I do think that part of this is the Jerry circus, and dragging out contracts brings up, media opportunities to talk about the contracts being dragged down, all this stuff. I understand the idea that all press is good press. I don't think this is good press.
My man Marcus Mosier said he mentioned the Cowboys pressers and normal in the same sentence, and he ought to know that ain't going to happen, David. What's going on in Dallas, homie?
I mean, I think Jerry's he's a little too comfortable. You know what I mean? I think that's really all that boils down to. Like he's saying the behind closed door stuff in the open. And like I mean, let's be honest. Like he didn't say anything about Dak that we haven't said. He didn't say anything about Dak that ESPN hasn't said, right? But you're the owner. You're the owner of the team, bro. Like you can't come out and say that kind of stuff about your quarterback and then say it in relation to your star defender. On top of the fact that like you just gave one of your star defensive backs a pay cut. Which hey, that pay cut was in his contract. Like it was contractually put in there. It's not like the Cowboys did him dirty. Still disappointed that they did it. If you're him, but I got it. But it was within the contract, right? I think Jerry, man, Jerry's always marched to the beat of his own drum. He's always done what he's going to do, and this is just another example of it. But at the same time, you just have to kind of wonder, like, if you're Micah Parsons, you're going out there putting your body on the line. Like Micah is the kind of dude, honestly, like. The problem you run into is they could just franchise tag you, or they just franchise tag you, lock you down in Dallas anyway. If he would want to go somewhere, see, you're going to get me in trouble with people in the comment section, because if Micah Parsons would want to go somewhere else, where would he want to go outside of Dallas? Washington. He would want to go to Washington because he wants to play with Dan Quinn. Look, don't hate me because the man loves his coach.
No, you're right. He
would want to go play for Dan Quinn in Washington. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to trade Micah Parsons to the Washington Commanders. Absolutely like holdout or no holdout, whatever. So, so if you're Micah, you're kind of in a sticky situation where, okay, well, if I can force them to let me out, maybe they'd send me to, I don't know, the New England Patriots, and I get a 1-year deal there. And my 1-year deal, I go Tom Brady on him, no franchise tag clause. And the next year I can go play for Dan Quinn in Washington, whatever it is. But it's just a sticky situation for Micah. So, like, he's kind of in a position where he probably wants to clap back, right? He did an interview with Jane Slater. I think it was Jane Slater, and said, he's not holding in because he wasn't practicing at training camp, but he's not holding in. He's just taking care of his body. Whether that's just a smart play by Micah or that's the truth, I don't know. But if it's not the truth, it's a smart play because Micah, again, we just talked about this, like, don't air out your grievances against a franchise in public. That's never going to go well. And Micah should know because he said some crazy stuff on his podcast before they got him in trouble inside the building. So he's learning, he's developing, and that's what you got to do as a human being. So it's just sticky, man. But, Jerry, like, the problem is people say get the mic out of his face, stop letting him talk. He's Jerry Jones. You're not going to stop him from doing anything. He's going to do what he wants to do.
He'll call the radio station if he needs to. You've seen him do it before. Jim Harbaugh, people criticize him for not going out and getting wide receivers. Well, he drafted Trey Harrison the second round out with the Chargers, and then they went out and got Mike Williams and brought him back. Well, Mike Williams has decided to retire. Here's Daniel Wade from Locked On Chargers to explain that one.
We have bombshell news because Mike Williams just retired from the NFL, and it could be a huge blow for the LA offense. This is Daniel Wade here from Locked On Chargers, coming to you with the surprising move that Mike Williams is retiring after 8 seasons, and that is bad news for the Chargers offense, who now have a very inexperienced wide receiver room. Outside of journeyman Jalen Reagor, the elder statesman in the room is third-year wide receiver Quentin Johnston. But more than that, they brought Mike Williams in for a specific purpose after their struggles last year, to be a ball winner on the outside as a ex-receiver and to ease second-round pick Trey Harris, who's holding out with a contract dispute, into the NFL. Now, that process has to get expedited. They have to get him on the field or look outside of the building to go find that ex-receiver, maybe a Keenan Allen, anyone. But for the full breakdown, make sure to check out the Locked On Chargers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Makes sense. You went and got one ball catching Charger and he retired. Go get the other one. They got to go get Keenan Allen. They need some experience in that room.
Yeah, I mean, you got Ladd McConkey, and obviously he's on a really good trajectory, and Trey Harris is a young guy with a lot of potential. But I mean, I don't hate bringing Keenan Allen back. At the end of the day, the Chargers are going to be a run-first team. That's what Jim Harbaugh is. That's what they're going to do. That's what he did in Michigan. That's just kind of his identity now, which is kind of not really going to help all the Justin Herbert hype that people try to build up around him. But you got to give the dude weapons. Right now, he doesn't have a lot. Again, Ladd, is solid. Don't get me wrong, but I don't hate Keenan. Amari Cooper is out there. Reportedly, I think it's like he only wants to play for the Bills, or he's going to retire, something like that. There's a couple other guys whose names are out there. Not a lot of sexy places or names out there. But yeah, I think Keenan Allen is probably the best of the group, and he brings something to your receiver room right now that you don't have with these other main guys.
Yep, experience, size, and just knowing how to go sit down and get a first down on 3rd and 6. He knows how to find those little holes in the zone. You can never overlook that. Two things. We're going to get on Washington and why I believe they're missing the mark a little bit with Terry McLaurin, another 30-year-old person trying to get paid. And then talk about Tyrann Mathieu retiring down in New Orleans. We'll get to both of those in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat. Get your draft board ready and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and my friends at Locked On Jaguars are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too if you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, right? I mean, this is the only one I play. Yahoo is where I've been for the last 15 years, and I don't know why you do anything different because they're the absolute truth. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. All right, moving and grooving here. Third and final segment on Wednesday edition of Locked On NFL. Most teams are in training camp either today or yesterday, or some started early in the week, and it's no different around the league than anywhere else. I'm going to tell you, we're going to get to Washington in just a second. Let's touch Tyrann Mathieu real quick and hear Ross Jackson talking about that sudden retirement.
Walk with me to my car and I'll give you all the updates you need to know about the New Orleans Saints. Look, we're already here, but don't worry, I'm not done yet. So there's a lot going on. So we had our pre-training camp media availability with both Saints general manager Mickey Loomis as well as head coach Kellen Moore. And of course, the two biggest things, or really the biggest thing that took place was simple. Tyrann Mathieu retired, like literally 15 or so minutes before this air conditioner cannot kick on fast enough. Like literally 15 minutes before the press conferences began. An incredible career for Tyrann Mathieu, 12 years. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, like everything.
That's what I was going to get to. Is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Ross Jackson just said yes. Now, Tyrann Mathieu, mind you, is a hero in Louisiana, played at LSU, won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, has been all pro, has been, one of those guys with the intangibles, great player, sudden retirement. I think he gets some Hall of Fame consideration and probably does make it.
I mean, I would like him to, right? I mean, I'm a big Tyrann Mathieu guy. I mean, I remember I've had some conversations with Bruce Arians about Tyrann Mathieu and just kind of, his path and his career and all that stuff. And, I would like for him to, but safeties are so underappreciated, like historically, currently free agent wise, like safeties are really, really kind of underappreciated. And you almost have to have that like really strong franchise legacy. And I know like he really did some good things with Arizona, like you said, with the Chiefs, got to finish his career back home in New Orleans. And that's all great. But like, who's going to be the fan base, right? Like who's going to be the fan base that really tries to lift him up and really tries to make a lot of noise for him? And like, what I'm saying? Like, I just kind of feel like you have to have that kind of a connection somehow. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, certainly not a first ballot guy. I do think he's going to be one of those guys. And unfortunately, like we're going to have conversations about, should this year be the year? Like, should this year be the year? And, same thing, like, where is he going to go in? Like, is he going to go into a Ring of Honor in one of these franchises? Like, where is he going to go there? You know what I mean? Louisiana Hall of Fame. Like, I don't know if there's like a Louisiana sports, college Hall of Fame, stuff like that. Absolutely. NFL Hall of Fame. I don't know, just because of the position he plays, the kind of lack of like true franchise legend status. And, listen, I'm not a Cardinals fan, maybe I'm off there. Maybe he is a franchise legend somewhere. I know he's like a Louisiana legend, but I'm
But I
not
know what
sure
you're talking about. You're
Yeah.
talking about what John Lynch was to Tampa. You're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
what Elite 36 Leroy Butler was to Green Bay. You're talking about what Brian Dawkins was to Philadelphia, right?
Feed
And
that
it
water
gets,
to the Broncos. Yep.
yeah, and it gets really hard when a dude moves around from team to team, no matter how great that player is. It just kind of gets like Earl Thomas is going to have a hard time, even though I think Earl Thomas was a better player in his prime than Tyrann Mathieu was. And I'm dead serious about that, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes when those guys stick with one team, that does help their cause because they have an entire banner behind them and an entire fan base behind them. Washington. Speaking of Washington, what's going on with Terry McLaurin, bro? You got about 5 good minutes to keep us to get us up to speed here.
Yeah.
I think he's worth it. I think they're missing an opportunity. They reset, and I know you can't be emotional. To me, they reset the entire franchise. Now, I think you get a chance to reward a guy who, through all of that mess, played and acted with nothing but pure class.
You know what? And I agree with you. Here's the problem. Ain't nowhere in the contract going to say, I agree, Terry McLaurin, I agree to be a class act. I agree to never get frustrated in public. I agree to be a great community presence. I agree to always have a smile on my face no matter what's happening with the team. You don't get paid for that. Like, you don't get paid for that. Like, wait, look, you and I both have military backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
What does the military pay you to do? Shoot, move, communicate, right? Like at the very basics, shoot, move, communicate. Look, you could be a good husband, you could be a good father, you could be a little league coach, you can, tutor kids on the weekends, you can do all this stuff. Fantastic. That's not going to get you promoted. Because why? Because you're not paid. If you can't shoot, move, communicate, you're not getting paid to do any of that other stuff. And you're not going to get a bonus for it. You know what I mean? What might you get? You might get a coin. You might get a badge. You might get an award. You get some accolades, some certificates, right?
You might be the first one to hit the keg at the beer bust. Hey, we appreciate you. But
that's what you get for doing that kind of stuff. And for Terry, like it's hard because we want good people to be rewarded, right? Well, guess what? The organization doesn't put in your contract either. We will put you on posters. We will make you one of the faces of the franchise. We will do this. We will do that. We will help elevate your brand. They don't put that in your contract either. You have to earn that. Terry McLaurin earned that. That's how the Washington Commanders reward Terry McLaurin for being who Terry McLaurin has been. They put him on the side of the stadium, on the programs, on the posters, in the commercials, in the photo shoots. That's what they do. The money comes from running, catching, scoring.
That he does pretty well, by the way.
Which you do pretty well, yes. But this extension, you have to remember, too, the new money starts next year. Next year, Terry McLaurin, this time next year, is going to be less than 45 days away from turning 31 years old. Production arc on a 30-year-old wide receiver about to turn 31 is not good. I did analytics. It's about 46 catches, 800 yards, and about 3 touchdowns.
Is there a compromise? Can they turn some of his money this year into guaranteed money and then throw him a little bit more?
You certainly could. And that's an idea I've kind of floated, and again, I don't know what the negotiations are behind the scenes, but that's an idea that I've certainly floated is instead of just doing a true extension, let's rework the current contract, right? Currently he's making $22.5 million. Let's turn that $22.5 million into 30 this year. Let's give you another $7.5 million in 2025 as a 29-year-old about to turn 30. And then next year, let's look at about 25. Next year after that, we're probably going to look at about 20. But guess what? $20 million at 31 years old, about to turn 32 is not bad. And I kind of look back at the Le'Veon Bell situation. And Le'Veon Bell came out years after and said, I should have never left the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he admitted, why did he leave the Pittsburgh Steelers? There was about $2 million in guaranteed money in his contract that he wanted guaranteed, and the Steelers would not guarantee it. And he said, fine. I don't need you. I'm going to sit out. He sat out the entire season, became a free agent, and you basically never heard of Le'Veon Bell again after that. And he looks back on it now and says, man, I should have just taken that deal, go out there, earn that $2 million. Like the $2 million was incentives. Go out there and earn that $2 million with the Pittsburgh Steelers, continue your legacy, continue being a Steelers mainstay, do all those things. It's hard when you're in the moment because you want the security, you want what you feel like you deserve, all that kind of stuff. But you have to be careful not to lose everything you deserve.
Your
Because you're not
connectivity.
getting everything you deserve, right?
The
You
connectivity
have
to the
be-
organization. Yeah.
And the other part of this, Wig, so the speculation, right? The speculation is that Terry wants something like $32-33 million annual average value. And the speculation is the team is probably coming in somewhere around $28 million annual average value. Now, 32 to 28, like the 32 is about the floor. 32 to 28 is $4 million. When I tell you he wants 32, they're offering 28, you're like, that's not close. If I told you he wants 28, they're offering 24, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty close.
It's right there. Yeah.
It's because you're changing digits. Like it's weird. It's a subconscious thing. Like, because the conversation is 28 to 32, it feels like a wider gap. If it was 28 to 24, it wouldn't feel like as wide of a gap. But it's weird how the numbers, I actually did a little bit of reading on this. I'm a nerd. Don't worry. Don't mind me. But the psychology of changing, that's why people, it's $199. It's not $200. It's $199.99 because making it $2 actually matters in your subconscious mind. It's crazy. That's how humans operate. But yeah, man. So, I mean, it's, look, I get both sides of it. Terry, like standing there and, in his press conference, or not in press, but media scrum saying, I've done this, I've been this, I've been a leader, I've been a community guy, I've done that. Like, I got you. You don't get paid for that. Like that's what Adam Peters is probably saying. Like, bro, like, we don't pay you for that. We appreciate it. We love it. It's why you're going to go in the Ring of Honor someday. But it's not why you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Like
think,
Art Monk never got a good guy bonus. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and Darryl Green didn't either. And
Yeah.
one thing I will tell you though is this: sometimes you can set a precedent, right? And people can go, well, if you don't pay him, who do you pay? And sometimes it's based on this. What's the likelihood that outside of injury, this dude's gonna slough it? None with him, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Terry McLaurin. Sometimes guys like that are the heartbeat of the team, and it sets a good precedence for you to give them some money and then tell everybody else, you want to get paid, make sure you do all the things that they do on and off the field to make sure that they're prepared to play every single day. We're prepared here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're always prepared, and you can be prepared too. All you got to do to get ready for camp, man, is check out the Locked On NFL Top 100 over at the Locked On Sports Today YouTube page, or Locked On Sports Today, period. Make sure you get on over there and don't miss the reactions to all of those guys in the top 100. Like, one of my big reactions is Travis Hunter being 67th, and I thought everybody was absolutely crazy, and I covered the Jaguars. I ain't giving nobody no credit that hasn't done it yet, at least.
That's crazy when the guy covering the Jags says that's crazy. And nobody owned up to it. Nobody has owned up to.
No, nobody owned up.
I voted for Travis Hunter. Like, I want to know who you are.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it, and because I just don't put rookies in the top 100. This is a hard league, man. This is a hard league, right? And I just can't say that a dude that I've never seen play is the fourth best player or the third best player on every single team in the National Football League. Even though I know it doesn't go that way, I just like to see him do a little bit. I think he's going to be really good, but I just wouldn't have done it myself. Yeah. But that, it is what it is, man. It was a lot of fun to do it. Make sure you tap in. Training camp is here, man. So we'll be giving you all the coverage you can handle all across the Locked On Podcast Network, twice a day here on Locked On NFL. Make sure you tap in. We'll see you next time.